Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another Q&A Sunday, but this one is a little bit different. It's the birthday edition. What that means for the edits, I don't know. Wojtek, behave, but obviously have fun. Either way, let's get into your guys' questions. What's up, everybody? Lawler here, inside source for all things Rocket League. Officially 30 years old as of this video coming out. Feels old man being a boomer in the Rocket League community. Although a lot of you in the comments not only mentioned that you are part of the older crew as well. A lot of questions are about like getting old and like hips being replaced and stuff. You guys are ridiculous. Either way, just got to say though, before I get into everything, I do greatly appreciate all the love and support. You guys, overwhelming positives, all the happy birthdays, all that kind of stuff. Does mean a lot, so I greatly appreciate it. I thank you. I'm not the biggest fan of birthdays, but you guys are slowly starting to turn my opinion around on that. Also on that turning opinion thing, Patreon should be coming shortly. I've just been busy and haven't gotten around to it. Honestly, we've just been watching way too much anime, which I'll be talking about later in this video. First question comes from Peyton that says, happy early birthday, looking at G2, and they decided to stick with Drees. Do you think he's going to be a long-standing member or just a placeholder? Ultimately, the unique thing about this is esports is not up to the player technically. It is based upon their performance. They have to earn that spot. And I think that's what this comes down to. I don't think G2 is going to sign Drees unless they know he is a very talented player and the best option available, because I'm sure they had tons of tryouts other than just First Killer. And First Killer, contract-wise, may have just chose to go to, FaZe because maybe things worked out better in scrims or they felt better together as a team. We don't know the exact contract reasons as to what they may be, whether they were Drees' situation or First Killer's or somebody else's. All I heard for the rumors was contract reasons. Whether that is his contract or somebody else's, I genuinely don't know, but it could be due to buyouts and everything else. A lot of things that could be speculative about what the rumors were. I will say, though, that in the spring split and being thrown into the most pressure-inducing situation, Drees stepped up. He played extremely well and did a really good job for G2 to clutch a spot at what would have been a world championship run. So I have no issues with Drees. I think Drees is an incredible talent. I think he's got a great opportunity to grow and build and really turn this roster into something special. There's a lot of G2 fans that, talk about how much of a better addition G2 now is with Drees as compared to Rizzo, even though I still love Rizzo to death. I do think this is his spot to lose, though. He has the ability to step up and be big for this team and say things don't go well. Over the course of a couple splits, things go poorly. We've seen G2 still support the team when they were almost relegated and were able to bounce back. So I assume he's going to get his fair shot. And as long as he continues to perform the way he has been, I don't think things are going to change anytime soon. I think Drees will be on G2 for quite a while. Question from Cody. Thanks for the love on all the content. How do you feel about Dig now that they have 3 Killer 1s mains as their roster? It's interesting. There's actually been a couple conversations going around with apparently Jack and Scrub. Scrub's role going to be more so defensive and support style as he gets older. And why wouldn't you want to try to enable Joria's and Jack when they're both absolutely cracked? Jack has also stated that they're not going to be doing the standard 3-man passing play style. It's going to be different. They won't have a coach initially. I don't know if I'm for or against that. But I will say that this team has a ton of potential. There's a lot of really exciting things that this team can accomplish with the skills that they do have. I will continue to say that this could be make or break for Scrub Killer. If things don't work out with this roster, where will they? And it might be Scrub's last season as a pro, or he'll have to drop down and join kind of the rankings of Cookster and try to find some other team. Or he'll just bench Godsmill again. Who knows? Either way, I'm excited for Dig. I don't know if it'll be good or bad. I think it'll lean more towards good. I think that could be like a top 6 if they play their cards right. But there is way too much talent on the team for them not to do successful things. So I'm looking forward to it. Ultimately, 3 1s mains, man. That's a lot of opportunities to know when and when not to challenge the ball. And they all have the same mindset of how to play the game. So should be fun. Do you think that more OG players, Cooks or Kronovi, still got potential to have a big impact on teams that can make it into the top 6 of North America, or are they completely past their time? Dude, all these old people questions. God dang. All right. So this one I think is kind of an interesting thing. There's 2 comparisons I want to make. A lot of times when you are a pro and you have basically been forgotten about, or there's people that when making roster changes have basically said that, hey, you got to go find something that is the bubble S teams or whatever. In this case, you look at Continuum in the situation with Kronovi, now Kansas City Pioneers. Jacob with 72 PC. I forget who picked them off the top of my head. Cookster with Wolves and stuff. It's very, very difficult for those teams to break out and give themselves another chance. It's almost impossible, it feels like. Once you're put down to the, the shadow realm of what is the bubble scene, it's almost impossible to break back out. It's very, very rare that it actually happens, and sometimes it does, and we've seen players bust out of that and have a really good, successful career in the future, but ultimately it's a very difficult thing for them to break out of. I still think they're very talented. I still think if they were given the chance to be on a top tier team, they could show that they are still just as competitive as they are now. But once you get put into that mentality or that section, it feels almost impossible to claw back out of. So while I think they still have a lot more left to give, I don't know if it's going to be possible for them to get over that hump and showcase that, yes, I still am capable of a top 6 team when all these new 14, 15-year-old kids coming in are absolutely cracked mechanically. But you can see the situation too for like someone like Torment. Torment on V1 was known as, yeah, he's a defensive god, but because everybody's so dang good in 1v1s, he'll get flicked on in a 1v1. He can't make those saves that he used to. So what does he do? He puts in time and effort. Same thing with Turbo, into mechanics and flip resets and finding ways to stay in the offensive side and be impactful. So maybe it's a possibility. I still think Cookster and Kronovi are dang talented, but are they going to have those opportunities? I don't necessarily think so. Next question comes from Aldrin. What is your favorite call of RL history? There's a couple iconic moments, but my personal favorite has to be obviously my own in season 1. Up by Power and Flipside Tactics. It's game 3 overtime, and over 0 hits an air dribble. They tie up the game. They end up winning in game 5. That one for me is the first moment that I realized that casting truly is something that I want to do for my life, my career. It fulfilled the feeling that I was missing, and I don't really know how to describe it, but when you make a call, the crowd erupts to a moment, and then as soon as I got done casting that and I walked down out of the booth, and everybody's like, wow, that call was amazing. Like, it instilled me with a certain level of like knowing of what I wanted my future to be. And there's nothing that will ever top that moment for me personally. Although I've had really fun and exciting calls, some of my favorites that I wasn't a part of, I think the overtime between Wavepunk and Achieves is probably some of the best casting we've ever seen in Rocket League, period. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Subpart HD did a video about the greatest overtime in Rocket League history. Go check it out. Obviously, the Justin goal gets a lot of love. The call itself, this is Rocket League, in my opinion, is actually pretty poor. You're telling people that you're watching the game that you're already watching. It's not the greatest thing, but it embodies the genuineness of this situation is Rocket League. It's stupid. Like, this is just things that happen. This is a picture perfect, well-scripted moment that has happened that we can't really explain other than the fact that, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's Rocket League. That's just kind of how it goes. Kind of like when weird stuff happens in anime, you're like, anime, dude, I don't know. Ultimately, I will say, though, the call that beats that and showcases how good Shogun is as a commentator, and I love and miss you, Shogun, if you hear this. My voice is gone, but my spirit is high. We have overtime is just poetry in words, man. Like the ability to embody everything that I'm feeling, but also still be like, hey guys, the game's not over yet. We still got to go and find out who wins an OT. That call is just chef's kiss. It's so good. Tony asks, we all know physical-based sports have natural age limits, and God, I get it, I'm 30. You guys are mean. But yes, there is limitations to the body and stuff in physical sports. But in Rocket League, obviously, we don't deal with the physical. We deal with mental, and obviously, things like arthritis and stuff can happen. And there's definitely concerns that way with like carpal tunnel and everything else. Rocket League is unique because it's only been around for 5 years in the competitive scene. And we don't really know how things are going to become as a limiter for the older ages. We don't really know if there's going to be a point where there's like a certain age that we see a trend until we get to the time of being able to see a trend. I think it's still been too young. I will say Rocket League's skill ceiling has been growing and growing, but it has definitely slowed down in how fast that has changed. So maybe we'll start to be able to see it a little bit sooner, especially with these younger kids coming in. Reaction times and everything else. I mean, that's the beauty of Rocket League, is when you're younger, your brain hasn't fully developed. So because you have all these tools of how to flip reset and everything right out the gate, and compared to when we had it, when wave dashing wasn't a thing and aerials were barely a thing unless you were Cronovi. You're able to pick these things up and they become just a natural part of your gameplay. It's not something you have to learn and develop a skill for. It's just it just simply exists. It is. And I don't know when that's going to become a limitation for us people who are older. You look at some pros in Counter-Strike that are in their 30s, will that same situation be able to occur for Rocket League? I genuinely don't know, but I do say that in time, age will probably become an influence because there's other outside factors that tend to become more important than playing a video game. You start to see kind of the big picture. You start to see things that are more important in life than competing and playing a video game, whether it be a family, friends, whatever it may be. Finding what your true personal happiness is different for every person. And that kind of stuff comes into as an influence outside of just, am I still good enough to compete? Cyan Saint says, for your 30th, you got to talk about the animes you like, bro. Would be cool special. Yeah, of course. I mentioned, obviously, anime a couple times in this. I'm a huge fan of anime. I've been watching anime longer than all of John Sandman's fans have been alive. I've been watching it for quite a while. As for favorites, probably the one that you guys see showcased in my videos is the poster behind me, and then there's a character from it. I don't know if you can see it over here. But Fully Cooley is my favorite of all time, primarily because it's one of the first ones that I really got into when I was younger. And it's like a nostalgic thing. When I was, in early high school or whatever it may be, sitting down in my friend's basement playing Counter-Strike 1.5, 1.6, and, having Toonami on it was always on like Saturday nights and stuff. So it became kind of that first show that I really associate. It's also a great show about growing up and dealing with changes as a young adult and a lot of really fun stuff. If you've never seen Fully Cooley, it's also got one of the best soundtracks ever, put on by the Pillows, who are amazing. I do like a multitude of things, and it's hard to give favorites because there's so many different styles and genres and stuff out there. I like just about everything. It's the same thing with my music taste. When people ask, what are your favorite bands? It's like, what's my mood at the day? Is it 70s? Is it 80s? Is it 90s? Is it metal? Is it R&B? Is it, it's very difficult for me to give favorites. Same thing with movies and everything. But Fully Cooley is probably number one. And then as for others, there's like 10 to 20 shows that come out every season. So whether it be, spring, summer, fall, or winter, I watch like 12 shows at a given time if there's good ones to watch. So I have a lot of favorites and stuff like that. If you want to know what I'm watching currently or ones that I recommend or any of that kind of stuff, come by the stream, twitch.tv/Lawler. We'll talk your ear off about anime all stream long if you let us. So come hang out. We'd love to have you, man. Last but not least, we went a little bit crazy on the amount of questions for today, but I figured why not with the birthday. The last one is, do I think that the newer mechanical talents like Acronic, CR, Oski, Reezers are sort of the future of Rocket League and will shape the game? That one is interesting. I do think that they are 100% the future of Rocket League. Young talent comes in, replaces old talent. That's just sports and esports in a nutshell, man. That's just how it's always going to be. But will they shape the game? That one I don't necessarily know. I mentioned a little bit earlier about how the skill ceiling and the curve of like what skill is in Rocket League, how the meta has evolved, has definitely stopped growing at an exponential rate. It's kind of slowed down a little bit. By all means, it's still getting stronger, but the meta is shifting into how to remove people from defense because they've gotten so good at saving it, as compared to innovating and finding unique ways to play the game. Infield passes are still a thing, dribbling, unique flicks, all that kind of stuff. We've seen a lot of it. What the next new mechanic is going to be, what the new meta is going to be, I genuinely have no idea. I'm excited to find out about what it may become, but you're not seeing such massive or drastic changes in how the game is played because of a new mechanic or a new thing that's been discovered or something that's been popularized and made second nature, like flip resets. Maybe that'll change. Maybe there'll be something where, quad flip resets are going to be viable. I don't think there's enough space on the field for a lot of that stuff to develop. I mean, I've played with freestylers now at a high level, and you realize how little they can actually do when they're playing against people who actually challenge and compete against them. They're not playing against bronze players at, 200 MMR. They're playing against people that'll actually read and jump and challenge them, and they don't get the space to do that kind of stuff. So whether we'll ever see things like that really make it to Rocket League, unless there's some like crazy groundbreaking thing, I don't foresee it. But there is still a lot of cool, unique, nuanced things that could be implemented, because at the end of the day, it's the human element. We make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. There is ways and places to get better. And I can guarantee that these young kids are going to be the ones that discover it, because watching them play is just, for them, it's second nature. There's no effort into it. It's just natural, man. It's crazy what they can do. So I'm excited to see what they end up doing, but I foresee veteran talent will still kind of shape the way. And before you know it, some of these players like Chronic and Noski and stuff are going to become the veteran talent. And I'm looking forward to that day, because, or maybe not, because I'll be like 34, 35 at that time, and that sounds kind of icky. Either way, that is going to do it for all the questions I have for you guys today on Q&A Sunday, birthday edition. Before I close out, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for all the birthday wishes, all the kind support, everything that you guys have been doing. It's been absolutely crazy, even with all the changes and stuff that I'm trying to make to the channel and things I'm trying to adapt and do. You guys still continue to watch and support, which is greatly appreciated. I'm not the biggest fan of birthdays, but the fact that you guys are kind of changing my mentality about that because of the support and stuff is greatly appreciated. So I do want to say thank you. And before we end the video, as always, this is my favorite series. I can't do it without you guys. So if you do have any additional questions for next week Sunday, we're going to keep doing this until I'm 40, you know, or until you guys decide to stop submitting questions. So as always, let me know any questions you guys want me to answer down below. Links to socials and everything in the description. And if you guys do enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I am going to head up north to spend some time in the woods, away from everybody, enjoying the 30th birthday, sipping on some whiskey. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.